I have the sudden urge to protest something. Down with big lots! Well, I didn't think it was gonna actually happen.
Everyone has beliefs, the things that they think are the moral right. I sure did. This is a common idea. If you believe in something, fight for it. Freedom of speech is one of our most unalienable rights, next to the right to have a Big Lots in your city. And a specific belief that's been used a lot more recently in terms of movies and TV is the term of eat the rich. This is a political slogan to express disapproval of capitalism and overall to express to the rich not to take advantage of the little guys. And what other way to truly utilize this slogan and belief than in movies? It is so easy to get across that while the rich guys think they can do just whatever they want with no repercussions, the little guys can strike back, and often these movies show what these rich people have coming if they continue to underestimate those who they often take advantage of. And while most of these movies are great, have you ever noticed one huge issue that really keeps these movies from getting the message across?
You're very rich.
Yeah, by the time this video's out, Blink Twice will be out, and it makes me realize these movies are pretentious as fuck. Dude, how are you gonna preach down with capitalism and don't take advantage of the little guys, rich people, when, dude, Ralph Fiennes was in one of the most popular Eat the Rich movies, and his net worth is yes. Dude, it's cool to see these stories told and show the flaws of capitalism. I'm all for making fun of Wall Street, but man, you're Paul fucking Dano. As such, while I'm somewhat excited to see how this Eat the Rich story within Blink Twice plays out, it's hard to take the message seriously when it stars Channing Tatum and was directed by his wife Zoe Saldana. Huh? So I thought this would be a good time to go over some of the major Eat the Rich movies, and see what makes them both good and also how well they utilize their message. Keep in mind, I'm not political in any way on this channel, so I'm just going to put this here. I don't take the message seriously, and I'm more just talking about the movie rather than the message itself. Anyway, here we go. The Purge is definitely one of the more direct approaches to the Eat the Rich storytelling. Oh yeah, you're richer than me? Enjoy the next 12 hours, bitch. Obviously one of the most iconic modern horror movies, and I still don't know why. I never liked these movies. They felt kinda dumb, but I saw why horror movie lovers would like them. Specifically, we refer to the first movie from 2013, directed by James DeMonaco. As if I actually have to tell you the plot of this movie, an annual purge allows the next 12 hours to be as crime-ridden as possible. So an average day in Cleveland. All of these movies to me are just so dumb. Like, sure, you gotta have suspension of disbelief if you ever go to watch a movie, but man, none of this is entertaining. It's all mindless horror and jump scares with very unlikable characters. Speaking of which, talk about On the Nose. I can't even call it On the Nose, it's just stupid! So, main character James Sandon is a very wealthy man, and such, he and his family become huge targets after his security system, which, by the way, is manufactured by his company, fails to protect them, and such, murder awaits. Seriously, it's actually comical how much goes wrong for them. Right when they think, oh no, we don't have to worry about getting murdered and chopped up, we're rich! They're so rich they can afford bigger graves, because seriously, it's no surprise these assholes get what's coming to them. The only thing that kind of makes these movies worth it is the presentation of The Purge. I have high doubts this would ever actually happen, like really high doubts, but the way it's shown, it's not terribly far-fetched. But does this movie eat the rich? No, because it's still a horror movie, and if we were to focus on the eat the rich elements, it wouldn't be scary, it would just be depressing.
He's hot and he has more money than me?
I guess I get the love from horror movie fans, but for me, it's nothing special. Hustlers is a bit more modern with its storytelling and such. It does a little better than The Purge in my opinion. I avoided this movie like One Direction music when it came out, but I see it's gotten quite a following over the years. It follows a group of female strippers,
Female pass.
mostly focused on Ramona, played by Jennifer Lopez, in one of the few roles that I think justifies her being an actress. Of course, after losing their business following the 2007 financial crisis and the 2008 crash, they begin to swindle money out of these Wall Street jerks who thought they were cool. I can safely tell you, Ramona is one of the most relatable people in recent movies, because she fleshes out her revenge story, with her being tired of being taken advantage by people who don't face the consequences. This, to me, makes this movie way better with its Eat the Rich message. It highlights how the less fortunate will always face the music more than the rich assholes who don't have to worry about it and just throw money at their problems. Ramona compares the world to a strip club, claiming you got people tossing the money and people doing the dance. And if you play GTA 5, you got perverts. And I'm glad I'm not alone on Lopez in this. Seriously, where was this in Ice Age 4? I don't want excuses, Lopez. So does it work as an Eat the Rich film? Absolutely. Yorgos Lanthimos, you magical son of a bitch. As if I couldn't time this any better, somebody actually recently asked my thoughts on Yorgos Lanthimos in one of my comment sections. And while he's never been one of my favorites, I do agree most of his movies are great. One of his best attributes is simple, making the audience extremely uncomfortable. The Lobster, Poor Things, and the darkest Eat the Rich movie in my opinion, The Killing of a Sacred Deer. The film follows a wealthy surgeon played by Colin Farrell, who up to this point has had a pretty great life and a perfect family. but a fatherless boy, played by Barry Keoghan, comes into their lives and turns everything to shit. All because the boy's father was killed on the operating table. This is just an unsettling film, and I have no problem saying it's my favorite from Lanthimos. It perfectly displays the talents of him as a director. And this is one of my favorites from Keoghan, who was in another Eat the Rich film more recently that we'll discuss later. As for the Eat the Rich message, like The Purge, it's a bit more direct, but you see the idea of the message. It doesn't get lost in order to do something crazy or disturbing. It's the reason for the crazy and disturbing stuff. To teach those who take advantage of their wealth the burdens of their nature. With all that said and done, I'm okay with this one. Ah yes, the sequel to one of my favorite all-time movies. I also decided to sneak my thoughts on the original, even though it's not nearly as riddled with Eat the Rich writing as Glass Onion. It still does something clever with the message. So if you haven't seen Knives Out, it's essentially a murder mystery that's solved in the first act. Or is it? So many twists and turns make you question the events of the first act, and eventually it leads to one of my favorite resolutions to a murder mystery. And the use of karma on the rich people who, no matter how you look at it, tried to take advantage of Ana de Armas's character is truly satisfying to watch. So the sequel would notably do the opposite. The first film focused on the mystery more than the message. This film focuses on the message while kind of putting the mystery in the background. It's more accentuated by these egos of these rich people and the karma that ensues. The excessive lifestyles of each of these prudes makes the message that more impactful. Though this is one of those movies that feels a little silly for satirizing the rich personality when it does well with the message. But man, I wish the mystery in movie was actually more engaging. It's not uncommon to hear that the Glass Onion as a film isn't as great as Knives Out. And while that certainly doesn't make Glass Onion bad, I certainly was underwhelmed. I felt the mystery was way more predictable this time around, and they didn't really do anything later on with it. But it's still crazily well done, and I certainly can't wait for more from this franchise. So, as Eat the Rich movies go, both Knives Out and Glass Onion are a solid thumbs up. Dumb Money is probably one of my favorite takes on the Eat the Rich story, because it's not trying to hide the message behind sophistication and complicated writing or big egos. It just gets to the point. Fuck Wall Street. They rigged the game and they paid for it. This is of course based on the popular GameStop stock battle from 2021, specifically on Roaring Kitty, a real streamer played by Paul Dano here, as he is able to completely change the stock market and screw over many Wall Street jerks. The reason this Eat the Rich story resonates better with me than some of the others is simple. It's a real story, with real people and real consequences. Sure, they dramatized it, but it feels natural and justifying to know that these real rich jerks, who took advantage of their power over the market, get their consequences. It's a shame this is one that fell under the radar. I discussed it in my 2023 review, so check that out for more info. Definitely worth a watch.
Well, if that's all it takes, I might try my hand in stocks. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh, here's one for Big Lots. Damn!
Saltburn is easily one of the most popular Eat the Rich stories, a film talking about desire and privilege in possibly one of the most head-on and bold ways. And guess what? I didn't like it. I mentioned in the 2023 review, I wasn't too big on this one. And I'm starting to realize I'm actually in the minority on that. Apparently this movie is what most people think of when they think Eat the Rich, as it has one of the craziest approaches to the message. The graphic nature of what's happening mixed with the killer soundtrack really makes this a one-of-a-kind experience that I just didn't care for. It just came off as too weird, and man, there's a right way and a wrong way to do weird. I'm sure this director can do great weird stories. Hell, I know Barry Keoghan can do these stories well. So I hope we see better projects from them. As for the Eat the Rich element, I mean, it works, and it's a bold choice in how they tell it, so I guess that's cool. Oh geez, cue the unpractically Arthur Fleck in every way, corny asses. Joker is in fact an Eat the Rich movie, but it also is a flip-flop of what we've seen in comic book movies to that point. It was much more grounded and gritty. Damn, telling of a much more grounded and gritty Joker. Being constantly shunned by society, especially rich folk, sends Arthur down a spiral of hatred, derangement, leading him to becoming the Joker. Joaquin Phoenix is one of my favorite Jokers, alongside just being one of my favorite actors, and he plays the role to a chilling degree. And of course, the message about helping the less fortunate rather than shunning them gets across well, that's for sure. Truthfully, this is a great way to push the idea, but I do argue it doesn't really focus on Eat the Rich elements outside of a few scenes. But all that said, Joker is a chilling film to say the least. Triangle of Sadness is one of the pivotal Eat the Rich movies, as alongside Saltburn, it's seen as a cover artist for the genre. And man, I just couldn't stay awake. And don't get me wrong, this guy had a pretty solid US debut here, and overall, I see why this was such a hit. But the thing about an Eat the Rich movie is that it has a 50-50 shot of being utterly boring. I'm not gonna act like this is a bad movie, because by no margin is it bad, but it certainly just is a boring one in my mind. As for the Eat the Rich element, honestly, it's way more subtle than these others. Such, take that how you want. The Menu is a fun time. I already talked about it in my 2022 review. Absolutely disturbing story with the classic rich people getting their just desserts set up. Get it? Just desserts because Ralph Fiennes is a douche. The Menu is a very disturbing tale, as I feel Ralph Fiennes really steals the show. The guy who directed this, Mike Malode, had some history with another rich asshole's project, Succession. It blends comedy and horror well. As for the way the rich are served, again, pretty solid with the message. I don't think really any of these movies fumble the theme. It just comes down to how much the theme relates to the story. And as for The Menu, it works really well. And to our final film of the night, Parasite, Bong Joon-ho's Academy Award-winning masterpiece, following one family, the Kim family, making their way into the wealthy Park family after their son is employed by them. I still haven't watched it. Don't get it wrong, man. I've seen the praise this movie gets. I've seen how well it was received. And apparently, it's one of the most scathing looks into the ignorance of the rich in the class system. Man, that must be nice, but I just have not had time to watch it. But hey, sweeping the Academy Awards that year, becoming the first foreign language film to win Best Picture, definitely can't take away from those achievements. Maybe one day I'll watch this movie finally and discuss all the Best Pictures, as I've wanted to do that video for a while.
It's sad to see that my other protest didn't really work out. But maybe I can do some good for the world if whatever I protest actually happens. Maybe I can use that for the good. Let's see what I can do here. I got it. Bring back family video! Damn it!